This is the Malaysia Economic Monitor report. It was released by the World Bank Group in April 2026. It provides deep insights into our economy. But far more important, it exposes a painful reality. It explains why ordinary Malaysians are struggling. It shows why you continue to feel relentlessly squeezed. Here are the 10 key insights. 1. The severe decoupling of wages from national growth. Between 2010 and 2024, Malaysia's economy grew massively, with GDP expanding by 82%. Over that exact same time frame, the real median wage grew by only 43%. That means ordinary workers are not getting a fair share of the country's economic success. 2. A squeezed and stagnating middle class, M40. While base adjustments like the national minimum wage have noticeably lifted the lowest income deciles, D1 saw a 102% real wage increase since 2010, the middle class has been heavily left behind. Middle-income earners in the 40th to 60th percentiles experienced the weakest wage growth in the entire economy, with real wages for the 5th decile only 29% higher than they were 14 years ago. Inflation has substantially eroded their nominal gains, placing a continuous financial strain on the core M40. 3. The graduation trap, severe underemployment. Ordinary Malaysian families make enormous sacrifices to invest in tertiary education, but the structural reality of the domestic job market fails to reward that investment. As of 2024, more than one-third, 36.1%, of tertiary educated workers are stuck in jobs below their qualification level. This is driven almost entirely by demand-side constraints. There are simply far more graduates entering the labor market each year than there are high-skilled job openings being created by firms. Crucially, graduates who are forced into mid- or low-skilled positions suffer a massive 49.3% wage penalty compared to those who find well-matched roles, dramatically weakening the economic return on a university degree. 4. Malfunctioning markets. Frontier firms are failing to scale. The top 10% most productive firms pay nearly 3 times more than the median company. However, their national employment absorption share in manufacturing has dropped from 36% in 2010 down to 33% by 2023, while their market share fell from 80% to 71% over the same period. The situation in the services sector is even more severe. Top-tier firms account for only 15% of total service sector employment. Because high-productivity firms are not scaling up, the supply of high-wage jobs remains severely limited. 5. Stifling business environment and capital misallocation. Productive local businesses are struggling to grow because resources are trapped in less efficient parts of the economy. Weak market competition. In food manufacturing, 1 in 2 firms report being able to arbitrarily hike prices without losing customers due to weak competitive forces, which directly harms consumer wallets. SOE dominance. 11% of businesses report having to compete directly with state-owned enterprises, which enjoy preferential government contracts, direct subsidies, and exemptions from antitrust enforcement. Credit squeeze for SMEs. While banks aggressively fund large corporate giants, the share of fixed assets financed by bank credit for highly productive small and medium enterprises, SMEs, has completely plateaued at a mere 28%. This severe capital misallocation cuts off the growth engine for up-and-coming high-wage employers. 6. Falling behind the global productivity frontier. Malaysia's best domestic companies are steadily losing ground to international competitors. The productivity gap between Malaysia's top firms and global leaders has widened significantly over the last decade, particularly in digital and knowledge-intensive industries. Domestic commercial innovation has stalled. Total patent applications have been in a steady decline over the last decade, a trend unique to Malaysia compared to surging neighbors like Vietnam and Thailand. Without global relevance, domestic companies have less capacity to provide world-class salaries. 7. The brain drain of inventions and talent. Because the domestic market lacks high-value private sector opportunities, Malaysia's best talent is leaking overseas. Over 1.86 million Malaysians live abroad, and more than half are employed in skilled or semi-skilled occupations in countries like Singapore, Australia, and the UK. Furthermore, inventive capacity is being lost right at home. The share of Malaysian-invented patents that are owned by domestic entities has plunged from over 62% in the 1990s to less than 20% by 2020. Top local innovators' capabilities are being bought out and commercialized by foreign businesses capable of offering the premium career pathways that domestic firms cannot sustain. 8. Structural wage penalties by location and demographics. Ordinary Malaysians face severe disparities depending on where they live, their gender, and their age. Spatial gaps. Real median wages in rural or economically lagging states, such as Sabah, Kelantan, and Terengganu, remain only marginally above the national minimum wage floor, demonstrating a stark lack of high-productivity local employers. Skill-related underemployment exceeds 50% in Kelantan and 40% in Terengganu. Early career vulnerability. Skill-related underemployment is heavily concentrated among youth, severely impacting over 44% of 25 to 29-year-olds with a tertiary degree, meaning a vast segment of young talent begins their careers financially compromised. Gender disparity. Women continue to experience higher rates of skill underutilization, 40%, and lower effective returns on their educational investments compared to men. 9. The AI polarization trap, low skills versus high tech. Generative AI exposure is spreading rapidly across Malaysia. Roughly 45% of the workforce is already exposed. This shift brings serious risks of worker displacement. The impact is highly unequal. It deeply targets women, urban employees, and mid-level clerical workers. Meanwhile, the local education system responds far too slowly. The share of local STEM graduates has completely plateaued since 2015. This creates a severe structural bottleneck. Without massive reskilling, AI will kill the demand for routine cognitive work. It will lock ordinary workers into low-paying, dead-end roles. 10. The trap of vulnerable gig, informal work. Informal and platform-based employment isn't a temporary trend. It is structurally replacing formal entries. Over 1.12 million Malaysians are now gig workers. Nearly one-third, 31%, entered full-time gig work, strictly because they could not secure formal jobs. And 34% of these full-time gig workers hold tertiary degrees, representing massive skill underutilization. While the landmark Gig Workers Act of 2025 represents an important safety step by mandating basic rights and platform-funded PERKESO Social Security coverage, gig workers remain highly exposed to income shocks, have volatile earnings, and live with highly fragile retirement security. 39% of full-time gig workers haven't considered retirement planning at all. The hard truth. Top-down policies and wage hikes are just temporary band-aids. To stop feeling squeezed, you cannot just wait for the system to change. Master the AI shift. Don't rely solely on formal degrees. Take upskilling into your own hands. Learn demand-linked digital skills and use AI to augment your daily tasks before automation replaces them. Target the right employers. Over 36% of graduates are underemployed. Break the trap by hunting for roles in productive, scaling local SMEs that are innovating and competing globally. These firms are where actual productivity turns into better long-term pay. The bottom line, hard work within the old system is no longer enough. To survive and thrive, ordinary Malaysians must actively future-proof their skills and take control of their own economic survival. If you want to see more breakdowns like this, hit that like button and subscribe.